California DMV's blockchain gamble, a risky bet on Avalanche and Solidity. Next on Raptor ChainReaction.
Hello Raptors and welcome back to a new Raptor ChainReaction episode. My name is Paul Mills from Raptoreum Core, and here we have Hunter Schultz, who is the head of production at Raptoreum. And today there's something exciting in the space. That right, Hunter?
That's right. Boy, I picked up on this. I don't know if people have seen it, but California DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles, is going to put 42 million car titles on a blockchain. And as soon as I saw it, I thought, oh yeah, we got to do an episode about this. And more important is what I found after researching it. But the good news is that a major government agency in a very important state, California, has decided to use blockchain as a solution. And for all of us, that's great. And I thought there are going to be a lot of people looking at that and going, maybe there is something to this blockchain stuff. And a lot of very wealthy people will be looking at it from an investment standpoint. Hey, this is a game changer. And it turns out that Deloitte is the provider, if you will, doing the solution for California DMV. But I know enough from my time at Raptoreum, learning about it. I know enough of the questions to ask. And the first thing I asked was, well, okay, which blockchain are they using? And it turns out they're using Avalanche. I don't know Avalanche, right? I don't know it. AVAX, AVAX.
Yep.
And I thought, let me look further because I want to know what programming language are they using. And then I found that out and I thought, oh yeah, definitely. We need to do a show on this. So Paul, you're more the expert than I am. I come from a business, somewhat technology background.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm looking at stuff like this, when I looked at Raptoreum, I have four things I look at when I'm evaluating a business investment, whatever. And that is this company going to make me money? Is it going to save me money? Is it going to solve my problems? Is it going to prevent my problems? And I can use that. It's like a universal truth. If I'm a hiring manager, I've got those things in mind. If you can do one of them, you're hired. If you can do two of them, wow, you're really going to go far. Well, I looked at Raptoreum and I thought, oh yeah, I see it. I see it.
I mean, when I saw this article that you sent me, I was kind of shocked, really, that Deloitte would actually put their name behind that and help them integrate blockchain using AVAX to manage the 42 million car titles in California. Because, I mean, one of the main reasons I'm here at Raptoreum is because I know problems with EVM and using Solidity, and this is why we've tried to solve some of those problems now at Raptoreum. Sorry. Now, if you don't already know, and I mean I've said it so many times, and so has some of the other members of the team, EVM based chains such as Solidity, they've been prone to numerous security issues, including hacks and exploits and various rugs, losing investors or asset issuers or asset holders millions and millions of dollars. And this has been going on now for the last 10 years. And this is primarily because the contracts that are created in Solidity that they use to issue these type of assets have vulnerabilities in that allow bad actors, or even just from using them, but allow these exploits to be detrimental to these assets. So, for example, Solidity is a relatively new language, and it's constantly being updated. You could call it a beta language. It's constantly being updated because there are constant exploits being found with it, and there's new versions coming out. So if you've ever made a token on Solidity using some of the token creation platforms, you can actually select which version of Solidity you would like to create a token on, which are, you know, depending on how you would like to deploy it. Newer versions obviously have lower vulnerabilities, but there, like I said earlier, there's new vulnerabilities being found all the time. The problem with this is if you create a token on Solidity, and it doesn't matter what chain we're talking about here, it could be Ethereum, it could be AVAX, it could be BSC, any of these EVM based chains, and there's 10 to a penny out there. There's so many of them because it's easy to clone them. If you create a token with a prior version of Solidity and there's been a new version of Solidity that's come out, and the token is created in such a way that the contract has been renounced, and what this means is the contract cannot be edited further down the line. This means that when new versions of Solidity do finally arrive that patch the exploits that have been found for the older versions, the token that is locked to that version of Solidity can then no longer be updated and is open to exploits. So again, I'm very shocked that Deloitte would put their name behind this and recommend that California DMV would actually be a good fit with AVAX to issue all these car titles.
Could it be that Deloitte acted, I want to say, let's just say they're acting out of ignorance for a moment. Certainly Raptoreum wasn't on their radar screen. So let's maybe give them the benefit of the doubt for a moment, unless this is just so well known that I don't know, but it's so well known outside of my knowledge base. You certainly, it would be on your radar screen more than mine. Why would they do this? I mean,
Probably
it
just
seems like,
I mean, you would think that they would do their research. It is part of their core intrinsic business to research into these things, and to you know, to do a good risk analysis of this. But we know, working in blockchain, that there are exploits in EVM, and we know that there are much more secure solutions out there to use in such a regard as 42 million car titles. You know what I mean? And this is one of the prime reasons why we created Raptoreum, because, you know, we saw so many people lose so much money and lose so many assets. And even today, I'm hearing of people with compromised wallets and projects with compromised contracts and things like that. And the thing is as well, if a project was to create a token such as California DMV with its car titles, and there are exploits found in that version of Solidity that they've used, and the contracts are renounced, then the only solution for that is to create a new token entirely on a newer version of Solidity, and then migrate everyone across to that new token, which is then not only detrimental to your reputation, it's detrimental to the PR side of things. It's also detrimental to the whole of your users, and in this regard, it's 42 million car titles. So it's huge, and it's a huge risk, I think.
there's something you can point out, and that is, if I'm not mistaken, in comparison to Raptoreum, for instance, which I know about, Raptoreum, you're creating assets on the blockchain, but the EVM-based chains are not doing that, and that's where you get some exploits. Why don't you speak to that a moment?
Well, yeah. So as Hunter said, Raptoreum assets are created directly on chain, and what this means is there's not a separate layer. There's not a separate asset layer, which is then coded by people in the language of Solidity, you know, separate to the actual EVM based chain. And what this means is the main I would say RPCs, but the main tools to create an asset and deploy an asset on chain on Raptoreum are all on the protocol layer, and that's all on the blockchain. And what this means is the security but behind that asset is as good as the blockchain itself. So you can't it's extremely difficult to hack Bitcoin, for example, and that's why it's still here today. It's the highest, the highest, most desired cryptocurrency out there in the world, and that's because of the way it's been designed and the encryption that it's got to back it all up. And this is why a lot of companies spend a lot of money on acquiring as much Bitcoin as they can get their hands on. And California DMV might even have Bitcoin as well. And this is why we built Raptoreum the way we have built it. The backbone of Raptoreum is based on Bitcoin code, and the assets part of it is again based on Bitcoin code attached to the protocol layer, the blockchain, providing that sort of encryption and security for everyone's assets. There is no dubious code out there for these assets and how they operate on the chain. They are just literally on the chain, backed by the encryption. We have well-established programming languages like Java and Python coming up for smart contracts and automations. And as I've mentioned earlier, Solidity is, classed as a beta language still. It's constantly being patched. Java and Python have been out for years and years and years, probably 20 years, probably longer than that. And these languages are mature. They've been tried and tested, and this is why that they are the backbone of the internet. This is why that most businesses and companies are coded in these languages through the open source digital umbrella of Apache Spark. So this is why that our future smart contracts are coded in those languages. And if any automations were to be required on our assets protocol layer, then that's what we would be using, for the simple reason that not only would we be more secure, but we would be closer to the businesses as they are already coded in those languages, and it's easy to transition and to utilize blockchain in that manner.
I just thought of something that we could do for our next show, and that is I have some friends who manage family offices, and when I saw this article, I connected that dot. I thought, boy, there are going to be some people that I know who are going to read this article and go, wow, that's really cool, and maybe I should get our portfolio involved in blockchain now that I see this.
Yeah, sure.
It's validation of the concept, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with the idea of putting car titles on a blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
The question is the all-important question is which blockchain, which is what I asked. And I'm thinking that some of my friends who are in that space, in the family office world, they don't really know too much about blockchain, and they've heard about Bitcoin. They might even own some Bitcoin. But when it comes down to looking at this article, they don't know the questions to ask, like I do. First one I asked, of course, was which blockchain, because I knew there was a vulnerability. And sure enough, there it is. So I'm thinking maybe what we do is the next show, we talk about how family offices can evaluate potential blockchain investments. And we lay out some benchmarks. Here's what to look for. Here's what to avoid. It may not be a comprehensive guide, but we'll give them let's give them the top 5 things to look at that can either say yay or nay.
Mm-hmm.
Quick guide, yeah, it meets these benchmarks, we'll investigate it further. That's my idea for our next show.
That's a great idea.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. We'll do that on the next video. It's a good idea. Just want to say something quickly before we go, and that is Deloitte, AVAX, and California DMV. what were you seriously thinking when you decided that this was a good idea? If you do your research out there, there's plenty of it, you can see the safety of Solidity. I wouldn't put my money on it, but you have. Why did you do that? And I'm not here just saying things because I'm biased about the project I'm working on. And yes, I am biased about the project I'm working on, but you can actually research this and check it out for yourselves. So go and do it, and then tell me why you did it. It's as simple as that.
There you are.
And there we are. So I want to say a big thank you for tuning in for this week's Raptor Chain Reaction episode. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for watching us. Hunter, thanks for the idea for next week. We'll be sure to be doing that. Please don't forget to give this video a little like and click subscribe if you would like to. That would help us out with the YouTube algorithm. And for all those that are already subscribed to us, a big thank you for sticking around. And don't forget, we have assets just around the corner. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.